My beloved child, don't lay your head down. Not yet. There is something too critical, too vital for your spirit to miss. And I will not allow the weight of sleep to settle over you until your spirit fully receives what I have been pressing so urgently to reveal. I have stepped into your room tonight. I am here. You may not see me with your eyes, but you feel me, don't you? That stirring in your heart, that restlessness in your soul that won't let you settle. That's me. I am not here as a distant God, far away in the heavens. I am here as the one who knows your exact pain, your silent questions, and the aching confusion you have been carrying behind every single tired breath. I am standing right beside your bed, waiting, hoping you will realize that this moment, right now, is not an accident. It is a divine encounter in disguise. I am not here to scare you. I am here to stir you. I am here to pull back the veil and show you that what you thought was a delay, what you've been calling a setback, was actually my hand setting you up for the very moment you are breathing through right now. This day, this hard day, it didn't end by accident. That conversation that fell apart, that disappointment that struck your heart like a stone, that thing that just didn't work out, no matter how hard you tried. None of it, not one piece of it, was random. I have been speaking to you all day long, but the noise of your worries was just too loud. The static of the world drowned me out. So I waited. I waited until you were alone, in the quiet, until the whole world had gone silent, to finally say this to you. You cannot step into tomorrow blind to what is happening in the spirit tonight. The enemy tried everything today. He tried to distract you, to make you give up, to whisper in your ear that I don't still care, that your prayers are just bouncing off the ceiling. But I need you to listen to me. Listen closely. Those attacks, they were not proof that I am gone. They were confirmation. They were confirmation that what I am doing behind the scenes in the unseen realm is so close to being revealed that hell itself is in a full-blown panic. It tried to interrupt your miracle before it ever reached you. That's why I'm not letting you rest, not letting you just scroll past this. Not letting you breathe one more confused, heavy breath. I have come tonight to break through that fog in your heart. I've come to ignite something deep within you that will never, ever settle for normal again. You have outgrown the version of yourself that just survives. I am here tonight to awaken the version of you that rises, and I will whisper it. I will make you feel it in your chest until you understand. The weight of heaven is pressing in because the shift, it's already happening. And this night, it was written into your story as the turning point you have been begging me for. Look around, beloved. This is not just your bedroom anymore. This space has become holy ground because I have entered it with a mission. A mission to remind you that you are still chosen, you are still seen, and you are still within arm's reach of the miracle I promised you. You are not forgotten. Today you are prepared. Now lift your eyes, open your spirit, because I am not finished speaking to you. And now that you are finally still enough to receive, I need you to understand why today unfolded the way it did. Every moment, every frustrating delay, every glance at the clock that made your heart tighten, it was not ordinary. These were alerts, signals from my hand. But your eyes were fixed on everything that looked loud while I was speaking through what appeared small and insignificant. This is not a criticism. This is a rescue. I have been flooding your atmosphere with interruptions, all meant to wake your spirit from drifting. The reason it felt like nothing made sense today is because I was shifting the rhythm. I changed the timing of things around you to draw your attention to a reality beyond what you could see. The words didn't come from that person for a reason. The outcome didn't match your expectation because it wasn't supposed to. I have been moving you out of routine and into revelation. But you've been interpreting my divine alerts as disappointment. You assumed I wasn't present, but I was closer than your breath, hovering over you in every silent moment, hoping you would finally pause and ask me what was really going on. You prayed for answers, and I sent whispers through the chaos. You asked for direction, and I closed certain paths so you would finally notice the one that's been glowing in front of you this entire time. But I won't wait any longer, child. This is not just a night of reflection. This is a night of divine interception. I have stepped in to reroute your heart before you go one more hour thinking I have gone silent. I have not been quiet. I have just been waiting for your spirit to tune into my frequency. You're picking up on it now, aren't you? That feeling in your chest, that trembling in your soul, that's not anxiety. That's me. That's my urgency rising in you like a fire. This isn't just about you feeling better. It's about you seeing clearer. Because if you keep missing what I'm showing you, you will delay something sacred. And I will not allow the blueprint I placed inside of you to remain locked away due to distraction. This is why I'm stirring your mind. This is why your thoughts won't settle. I am pressing you to confront the patterns that have numbed your spiritual senses. No more autopilot, no more survival mode. I am awakening your discernment, your vision, your spiritual ears. The next few hours carry something too important to miss. So listen carefully. I've been speaking through the closed doors, through the strange pauses, through the people who vanished without warning. These weren't accidents. They were precision acts of divine protection. And now the spotlight is on your heart. And I am asking one thing. Will you recognize the signs this time? I didn't let you sleep, because the moment you truly see what I've been showing you, everything will shift. It's been here all along. You thought those tears you cried were ignored. You thought they simply evaporated into the night, like they meant nothing to anyone. But I watched each one fall, and I knew the exact ache behind every single drop. You weren't just weeping because of disappointment. You are weeping because your soul has been carrying unanswered weight, unspoken thoughts, and silent cries that no one else seems to detect. But I did, and I do. And what the world overlooked, I recorded with divine precision. You see, pain has a language, and I am fluent in the sound of your breaking. I have been present in the tremble of your voice, in the moments you held your breath just to keep from falling apart, in the quiet, desperate glances toward heaven when your words just wouldn't come. You were not alone when you hid your face in your pillow. I was right there, closer than you could ever imagine, craving the very emotions you were trying so hard to suppress. Not one tear slipped past my notice. They were not wasted. They were signals. And I received every single one. But now I must take you deeper into why those tears flowed in the first place. Because what broke your heart today wasn't only about what happened on the outside. It was a divine indicator that something inside is being reshaped. I allowed you to reach that point, not because I wanted to watch you suffer, I never do, but because I needed to bring you to the end of pretending you were fine. You have been bottling things up for far too long. And I came tonight not to add more pressure, but to break open the seal that's been keeping you from releasing it all into my hands. What you experienced today wasn't weakness. It was a cleansing. What looked like an emotional collapse was actually the beginning of a healing I orchestrated long before the pain even arrived. You see, those tears have power in my kingdom. They speak louder than eloquent prayers. They reveal truths that your mind can't explain, but your spirit fully understands. Tonight, I am showing you their meaning. They were not signs of defeat. They were signals of transformation. They were the sound of surrender, of letting go of what has been so heavy, and making room for what is coming next. I am not ignoring your sorrow. I am decoding it. Because behind those moments of vulnerability is the very strength I planted in you from the beginning. Your tears are watering your breakthrough. You may not see the results yet, but heaven has already begun moving in response. What seems slow to you is actually right on time for what I have planned. I needed you to feel safe enough to cry again. I needed you to remember that you don't have to hide from me. That's why I've been waiting, not to lecture, not to correct, but to comfort. You cried because you were tired of carrying it. Now, watch what happens when I carry you. This is not where the pain wins. This is where my promise begins to bloom through the cracks. Your tears didn't drown your destiny, they watered it. And by morning, you will understand why I refused to let you sleep until you saw the beauty I've been creating right beneath the sorrow. Stay open, beloved. What's coming next will require the very space those tears just created. There is a reason you've been feeling a weight you can't explain, a pressure that sits on your chest when the world finally goes quiet. It's because I've been calling you back, and your soul has begun to hear me, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. You've been mistaking this internal burden for exhaustion, for anxiety, or just emotional weariness. But what you are truly feeling, my child, is the friction. It's the friction of being too far from the space where your spirit was designed to thrive. I never intended for you to feel this lost, but I did allow the spiritual weight to build, not to crush you, but to awaken the parts of you that have gone silent under the noise of survival. That stirring you've been trying to shake off, that strange restlessness that follows you, it's not a curse. It is your compass. I placed it inside you to make sure you would not and could not grow comfortable in a life that doesn't reflect who you really are. It's been tugging at you, gently at first, then heavier, louder, more persistent, because I cannot let you drift any further. My hand has been pressing against your spirit, not in punishment, but in passion, to pull you back to alignment. You've been searching for clarity in all the external things, in people, in jobs, in a new plan. But the confusion will only dissolve when you respond to the one thing I've been trying to show you. You've wandered from the place where we used to meet. And no, I am not angry. I am aching for you. I remember the version of you who would pause in the middle of the day just to talk to me, who used to ask me what I thought before making a decision, who used to trust me without overanalyzing every possible outcome. That version of you wasn't perfect, but it was present. You were still. You were close to me. And now, even though life has pulled you in 100 different directions, I have never left my position. I've stayed near, I've stayed ready. But this weight you feel, it's me, calling you back into that place where peace isn't something you have to chase, it's something you carry. I miss you. I miss the way your spirit used to lean into me, and you miss it too. Even if you haven't been able to articulate it, that ache isn't just sadness, it's homesickness. Your soul is remembering me, and the heaviness is evidence that I am near, not far. I've been drawing you with invisible threads, weaving circumstances that push you back toward my presence. Not to guilt you, but to remind you who you are when you are fully connected to me. I am not dragging you. I am inviting you. And the sooner you stop resisting this pull, the faster the heaviness will lift. It was never meant to break you. It was designed to lead you. It's not a sign of failure. It is proof that your heart still knows my voice. The tug you feel is not a problem to fix. It is a doorway to walk through. Because once you say yes to this inner nudge, once you open the part of you that has been shut for too long, you will feel something lift. Not all at once, but layer by layer. Light will begin to seep through again. Joy will not feel so foreign. Purpose will no longer be confusing. I came tonight with urgency and intention to tell you that this moment, this exact moment, is the crossing point. You can keep ignoring the heaviness and numbing yourself with distractions, or you can pause, surrender, and feel me lift you from the inside out. You are never meant to carry what is mine to hold. Let me be your strength. Let me be your calm. This pull will not stop until you come home to me completely. And when you do, the heaviness will turn into a holy fire. And the spark ignited by that holy fire is growing warmer. But before its flame swells into the blaze I need you to rethink your entire definition of calm. Because genuine serenity, true peace, is not something that just drops out of the night sky like sleep dust upon weary eyelids. It is a person, and I am positioned right now at the very threshold of your life, knocking with a rhythm that no lullaby can imitate. All day you searched for a soft landing, an encouraging phone call, a notification on your phone, a quiet drive with just the right song. Yet everything felt slightly off-key, didn't it? That's because you were scanning the horizon for a momentary pause instead of turning toward the unchanging presence that has been lingering inches away from your heartbeat. I do not withhold rest to torment you. I delay superficial comfort so that you will finally, deeply crave the real thing. Hear the urgency in my voice. The clock is sprinting, shadows are stretching, and opportunities to open this door are not infinite. Right now, in the hush between your inhaling and exhaling, a divine knock reverberates through every layer of your being, and it is louder than the ticking of fear, clearer than the chatter of anxious thoughts, sharper than the memories of failure that keep replaying. The echo is me. The handle is within your reach. You have asked me for a piece that slides quietly into place like a puzzle piece. I am answering with a piece that walks in wearing radiant armor, ready to guard your mind against the battles that want to resume at dawn. But a guard cannot enter without access, and access requires your yes. I will not force the latch. Instead, I keep tapping. Tap, 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 until the vibration shakes loose every excuse that is clinging to your rationale. Drop them. I am not negotiating terms, I am presenting a gift. When you open this door, you will discover that my peace is not passive. It is alive. It is breathing, pulsing with an authority capable of stilling the storms that medicine, mentors, and money have all failed to hush. Do not misinterpret my persistence as impatience. It is evidence that heaven has invested too much in your future to let you slip into another night of counterfeit rest. The mattress beneath you can cradle your body, but only my nearness can cradle your soul. Look closer. Those moments you nearly drifted off but then jolted awake, they were not random spasms. They were spiritual alarms. Subtle jolts engineered to push your awareness toward this threshold. Each time you felt that sudden start, I was whispering, "Open, now." And every sigh you released, thinking you were merely tired, was actually your spirit acknowledging a truth your logic hadn't decoded. That real rest begins the instant you let me cross the doorway. I bring a hush that permeates the marrow, rearranges thought patterns, and resets the rhythms that anxiety corrupted. Let me in, and tomorrow's dawn will still arrive with responsibilities. But you will greet them clothed in a stillness that confusion cannot peel away. Child, the night is advancing, but the offer remains. Reach for the handle, swing wide the entrance, and discover that the one you thought was distant has been standing inches away, holding a peace so weighty it will anchor you through the fiercest winds that are scheduled to rise. This is why you've been tossing and turning, adjusting the pillow, checking the time, wondering why your body refuses to settle. What you are experiencing is not insomnia. It is an invitation. It is not just your nerves reacting. It is your soul waking up. The stirring you feel within is not something to silence. It is something to listen to. You've carried my voice like background noise for far too long, letting it fade into the hum of life's demands. But tonight, it rose. It rose above all the other noise and reached the very core of you. And now that you are finally quiet enough to notice, this tension, this holy tension, will not fade until you respond. This restlessness isn't a punishment. It is a signpost, a sign that you have arrived at a turning point your heart has secretly longed for. You are no longer willing to survive off half-truths and temporary distractions. You are no longer willing to fake peace while your insides are churning. This discomfort is not the enemy. It is the edge of revelation. I have been speaking beneath the surface of your thoughts, dropping signals, shaping patterns in your circumstances, crafting scenes so carefully that only a heart that has grown sensitive could begin to see what's hidden. And tonight, your spirit has finally tuned into the frequency I have been broadcasting since before the sun even rose. You couldn't sleep because you were not meant to drift past this moment. You were meant to lean into it. You have prayed for me to speak clearly, and now I am doing exactly that. Not through thunder or an earthquake, but in the still, potent weight of this very second. That ache you cannot explain is my presence, leaning closer. That pull you keep feeling in your chest isn't fear, it is the unraveling of old noise to make room for divine clarity. I am awakening you to dimensions of me you have never known before. Levels of understanding you simply weren't ready for. Until now. What you once dismissed as coincidence, you are now beginning to recognize as intentional. That is growth. That is breakthrough. And it is happening right now while the world sleeps around you. I chose this hour. This sacred hour caught between yesterday's weight and tomorrow's possibility. Because you are more open now, more raw, more real than you have been in months. You are not just hearing words, you are beginning to perceive me. And that is why you can't rest. Because something inside of you is preparing to be rebuilt. The lies that used to comfort you no longer work. The doubts that used to make you run in circles no longer hold any power. And the version of you that used to settle for just surviving is being gloriously disrupted by truth. I am not here to quiet the noise around you. I am here to clear the static within you. I want to make space for the real you, the part that's been hiding under busyness, buried beneath excuses, and starved by routine. And I will not stop until I have your full attention. Because what I am about to release through you requires more than half-hearted yeses. It demands your full surrender. And that surrender starts right here, in the stillness of this late hour, where nothing else is loud but my love. You measured today by what didn't happen, by what fell through, by who didn't respond, by the doors that stubbornly refused to open. But I measured your day by what I protected you from, by what I rearranged behind the curtain, by what I timed perfectly so that you would not step into something too soon and damage the very thing I am crafting for your hands to hold. That setback, it wasn't sabotage. It was divine intervention, disguised as disappointment. I didn't let the plan unfold the way you envisioned it, because the foundation under it was not strong enough yet. And you, my child, deserve something that lasts, not something that looks right for a moment and then collapses under the first sign of pressure. The pause you experienced wasn't my absence. It was my alignment. I slowed the rhythm of your day so your heart could finally match the pace of my will. Had you received what you were pushing for in your own strength, it would have worn you out before it ever blessed you. You don't know the weight of what I am about to release, but I do. And that is why I did not let the premature version settle into your life. Timing is not just about schedules, it is about capacity. And today, I was building yours. While you were questioning the silence, I was expanding the space within you for something far more significant than you imagined. You thought the delay was denial, but it was design. You thought I said no, but I was actually saying, not yet, not like this, not in that form. I was not withholding out of cruelty. I was shielding you from the trap of accepting something incomplete just to satisfy your impatience. The beauty of what is coming will make sense of the restraint you experience today. Every closed door carved out space for the right one to swing wide. Every unanswered call cleared the way for the voice I am sending. Every delay refined you, taught you, pruned you, so that you would not carry the wrong mindset into this next season. I know it didn't feel good in the moment. I know your heart ached with confusion, but tonight I want you to look again and see the fingerprints of my mercy all over what didn't move. I was stretching your vision, shaking your need for control, and deepening your trust. Not because I enjoy watching you wait, but because I care too much to let you settle. You are too important to me to let your destiny be built on fragile timing. That's why I allowed the process to slow, because I am about to place something weighty in your hands, something that cannot be rushed or manipulated into existence. The delay was my signal that the blueprint needed adjustment, that the atmosphere surrounding you needed purification. And now that I have your attention, now that the noise is stilled and your spirit is fully awake, I am preparing to unlock what has been held back for this very hour. But hear me, if you interpret my pauses as punishment, you will miss the purpose buried within them. So instead of resenting the waiting room, honor it. Because in that pause, I was not idle. I was moving everything into place. So when it arrives in fullness. And now something is shifting. Something is breaking open, and I am moving you into the first wave of what's next. You are closer than you know. They thought the silence meant defeat. They mistook your stillness for surrender. They assumed your hiddenness, your absence from the spotlight, was the end of your influence, a confirmation that your story was over. But they have no idea. They have no idea that what looked like a burial was actually a divine planting. I took you underground, not to erase you, but to protect what I was growing in you, away from the reach of careless hands and gossiping voices. This season of concealment was never, ever punishment. It was preparation. And though the world may have forgotten your name for a moment, heaven never lost sight of your identity. While they walked away, while they spoke behind closed doors, while they mocked the silence around your life, I was working in the deep. Roots were forming. Strength was multiplying. Resilience was building in layers you could not even see. They may have celebrated too soon, not realizing that the dark season you just endured was not the end of you. It was the setting of the stage for the most unexpected rising. I permitted their laughter because I am about to silence it with your elevation. The very ones who dismissed you will soon have to witness the bloom that only your quiet obedience could have birthed. You didn't retaliate. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't chase validation. And that is why I am now stepping in to vindicate you in ways that don't require an announcement. What is coming next in your life will not need a spotlight. It will create its own. I am not interested in proving your worth to people who were never meant to carry your vision. I am interested in fulfilling what I promised, even when it looked impossible. Even when you doubted if you had any strength left to keep believing. The miracle is not just that you survived the betrayal, the silence, the isolation. The miracle is that your spirit grew stronger in the very soil that was meant to break you. You have been underground long enough. What was hidden is about to emerge, and this emergence will not come with an explanation. It will come with evidence. The growth that happened in secret will become undeniable in public. The things they couldn't see, the healing, the wisdom, the authority, the discernment, will now become unshakable fruit hanging from your life. This isn't about revenge. This is about revelation. I am revealing my glory through someone they overlooked. I am demonstrating my power through someone they thought was finished. You were never buried. You were planted in holy ground. And I have been watching the depth develop with purpose. That's why I allowed the misunderstanding. That's why I permitted the separation. Because what I am growing inside, you could not survive in shallow soil. It needed depth, pressure, darkness, and stillness. And now you are ready to rise, not as a survivor, but as a testimony. You won't have to shout. Your presence alone will speak volumes. You won't need to defend yourself. Your fruit will answer every question. You were planted in the season they left, but you are about to rise in the season I arrive. The earth is about to witness what heaven has already written. This is not about being seen. It's about stepping into alignment with the fullness I have prepared for you. Watch me turn the soil of your sorrow into a garden of glory. What comes next will not only silence the doubters, it will restore everything they tried to steal. And that is only the beginning. They told you it wasn't your time. You heard the door lock. You felt the sting of being overlooked, passed by, denied access to something you were sure was meant for you. The closed door sounded so final, and everything in your body wanted to scream, "Why not me?" But what I whispered while your heart sank was this, that no was not the end. Type yes if you are ready for the blessings that you are about to receive. And if you believe in Christianity, kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. It was my hand turning you, gently, firmly, decisively, toward a route you hadn't yet considered. You called it rejection. I call it protection. I didn't block that opportunity because you were unqualified. I stopped it because what is ahead of you carries far more weight than that temporary placement could have ever provided. The direction I am leading you into would have been delayed or even destroyed if I had let that yes happen. I saw the hidden costs. I saw the distraction. I saw the compromise. And rather than let you stumble toward something that was shiny but shallow, I placed my authority between you and that door and said, "Not this one." You don't see it yet, but the no you feel frustrated by is about to become the testimony that strengthens everything you build. You won't have to wait long to understand. By the time the sun rises, you will begin to feel the shift, to notice the new alignment forming around you. I am not random. I do not operate on human timelines or emotional pressure. I move with eternal precision. What I block for your good, even when you feel bruised by the impact. I need you to know this tonight because the bitterness of rejection can begin to harden a soul if not confronted by truth. And the truth is this: my plans for you are not fragile. They are never threatened by temporary losses. What you perceive as misfortune is so often my mercy in disguise. And I will not apologize for preserving you from things that would have satisfied you short-term, but sabotaged your long-term destiny. I am a good shepherd. I don't just open gates, I close them too, especially when the path ahead leads to a danger you cannot yet see. Even when others get what you prayed for, even when people rise ahead of you, I want you to remember that comparison is not confirmation. Their blessing is not your blueprint. Their timing is not your measure. I am doing something entirely distinct in your life. Something custom designed. Something that doesn't require you to force a door open just to feel worthy. You never needed to push for recognition. I already wrote your name into rooms you haven't even dreamed of yet. And the only reason I haven't walked you into them yet is because your heart needed to heal from thinking your value depended on that access. It doesn't. Your value is fixed, unshakable, eternal. That no was not a mistake. It was a message. And if you could hear it through my voice, you would recognize it as one of the kindest things I have ever done for you. Because sometimes the most loving thing I can do is to interrupt your path when your momentum is about to lead you off course. You will see it, you will understand, and when the right door opens, you will not have to question if it's yours. You will know. There will be no striving, no chasing, no shrinking to fit. The peace will be so loud that no insecurity will be able to talk over it. You will walk through it freely, fully, with your head held high and your soul anchored. And when you do, you will look back at tonight not with regret, but with reverence. Because this was the moment you chose to trust that my no is always for a greater yes. Pause. Whatever thought just rushed across your mind, let it go. Because the magnitude of what I am unveiling in this midnight hour dwarfs every worry currently jostling for space inside your skull. I am placing in your hands a blueprint, so radically precise that even one syllable of hesitation could delay the waves of favor that are scheduled to crash across dawn's horizon. Listen with your spirit, not just your ears. Before the morning birds announce the first light, I will download strategies. Strategies that reroute stagnant routines, expose hidden sabotage, and ignite dormant passions you assumed had expired. You asked me for breakthrough. I am answering with an orchestration that stretches beyond mere relief and reaches into generational transformation. What I am handing you tonight is not a random burst of inspiration or a fleeting motivational spark. It is a multi-layered revelation designed to pivot your decisions, redirect your resources, and recalibrate your relationships, all in a sequence that only divine intelligence could compose. This is why I have held you awake. Why every attempt to drift off has been interrupted by that jolt of alertness. Heaven's courier service refuses to leave a package of this magnitude on the doorstep of a sleeping heart. Feel the urgency in the air. While the world slumbers under the illusion that nothing significant can happen between midnight and sunrise, I am bending time. I am lining up circumstances. I am summoning assistance you never knew existed. Contracts are being revised. Travel routes are being rerouted. Names are being spoken in rooms where influence gathers, and yours is among them. Your name rose today in the councils of light, spoken with such affection and such certainty that every messenger present straightened as though reminded of an assignment they dared not postpone. I need you to grasp the gravity of that moment. Heaven never calls a name casually. The throne room does not conduct ceremonial attendance. It declares identities precisely when the hour of activation strikes. While you maneuvered traffic, sorted emails, soothed small crises, and wondered if anything significant was unfolding, I listened to the echoes of that declaration circle the expanse like rolling thunder, each echo commissioning fresh hosts to surround you in ways you have yet to discern. You felt nothing more than an unexplained warmth in your chest and thought it was just nerves. But it was the residue of angelic awe settling over your spirit. Understand this: a name spoken in glory is never mere acknowledgement. It is a release of authority. Today's utterance detonated a catalytic shift, sending designs tailored to the unique fingerprint of your calling into motion. Inside those designs are appointments still outside your imagination. Rooms where your sentences will recalibrate hearts. Territories where your footsteps will fracture generational patterns. Platforms where truth will ripple through you like living water. Because your name was mentioned, dormant dreams started cracking their shells. Dormant gifts began to hum, and resistance that once seemed immovable already shows hairline fractures. You may not notice it at first, but the atmosphere around you has been rewritten. I remind you of precedent. Moses heard his name from a flame before dismantling an empire. Samuel heard his whispered in the night before guiding a nation. Mary heard hers on angelic lips before carrying redemption. In every story, the naming preceded the unveiling. So too does your mention precede an unfolding that will reorder more lives than you can now comprehend. Yet be clear. Recognition from on high is an invitation, not an indulgence. The same voice that elevated you awaits your collaboration. When opportunities begin cascading like a waterfall you never scheduled, it will be tempting to question if the surge is real. Beware of shrinking. I do not misspeak names. If yours was spoken, yours is required. Cultivate readiness. Offer me the stillness of this hour, and ask for your first obedient step. It may be a simple instruction, an audacious proposal, or the simple discipline of writing down the ideas I am giving you right now. Obedience seldom looks epic at its inception, yet mountains move beneath seemingly ordinary yeses. As you respond, provisions already in transit, Alliances, insights, financial streams, creative bursts will arrive on schedule. You will watch puzzles assemble themselves. You will see opposition dissolve without a fight. Remember this night when self-doubt tries to crawl back in. Your value was stamped in eternity long before insecurity found a vocabulary. Heaven's archives recorded your worth in ink that cannot fade, and tonight's mention has pulled that record into the present. Rest soon, but do not drift into indifference. Hold this expectancy like a lantern. Just beyond the horizon, a sequence of confirmations is lining up, all saying the same thing. The courts of glory have spoken, and earth must now adjust itself to what was decided. If only your natural eyes could pull back the curtain right now, you would see what is truly causing this pressure that seems to come from every side. You would realize the tightness around your chest, the sudden irritations, the thoughts that feel like waves crashing over your mind. It is not chaos without a cause. It is warfare with a purpose. The very atmosphere around you is charged with conflict, not because you are weak, but because you are near. You are near something so monumental in the spirit that darkness is panicking. The enemy has picked up on the tremors of what I am about to do through you. He can hear the sound of doors unlocking. Your quiet obedience has sent a vibration that cannot be ignored. And now the adversary is trying everything to confuse you, distract you, and push you back into silence. But I need you to hear me clearly. This pressure is not punishment. It is proof. Proof that your praise has pierced the ceiling. Proof that the breakthrough is not just promised, it is positioned. And the closer it gets, the more aggressive the resistance becomes. Because the enemy always intensifies his assault when he realizes he is losing his grip. Your name has become a threat in places you have not yet walked. The power I have placed inside you is beginning to activate areas of influence that haven't even appeared on your calendar. And every spiritual force that once slept is now restless. Why now? Because something you prayed for months ago has reached its tipping point. Because the yes you whispered when no one was looking echoed louder than you thought. Because your consistency in secret has triggered an eruption of momentum in the heavens. And now, hell is trying to reverse what it can no longer control. But it is too late. What I have begun cannot be undone. What I am forming inside of you is too deeply rooted to be shaken by intimidation. This battle is not a sign for you to retreat. It is an alert for you to prepare. I have equipped you with armor you haven't even fully recognized yet. Your mind may feel overwhelmed, but your spirit is more resilient than it has ever been. You are not being attacked because you are vulnerable. You are being targeted because you have become dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Every thought that tried to convince you to quit today was a lie, born from fear of what you are about to step into. Every delay, every opposition, every sudden confusion, they are all symptoms of your proximity to purpose. That's why things got louder, messier, heavier. But I did not bring you this far to watch you collapse. I have been strengthening you in the shadows for this exact moment. The warfare isn't random. It's coordinated. But so is your victory. And that is what the enemy knows but does not want you to realize. He has seen the next chapter I have already written for you, and he is terrified. Because once you step into the place I have ordained, chains will break off others just by the way you walk. Doors will open, not because of your name, but because of the authority I have invested in your surrender. You were not meant to avoid this battle. You were born to overcome it. This pressure is a prophecy. This fight is confirmation. This storm is a stage being set for my glory to erupt through your life. Stand still. You will not have to fight this alone. Reinforcements are not coming. They have arrived. And on the other side of this intensity is not just a blessing. It is a commissioning. And that moment, it is closer than your next heartbeat. You've been wondering why some things just won't stick. Why that opportunity seemed perfect until it vanished. Why that conversation had momentum until it went cold. Why that door looked open but wouldn't budge. And in those moments, you questioned your worth. You blamed your timing. You assumed you'd made a wrong turn. But let me tell you the truth that your spirit already suspects. It wasn't a mistake. It was my hand, held firm between you and what you thought you wanted. Not because I want to frustrate you, but because I want to protect the territory I am preparing. I am not withholding good from you. I am reserving sacred space for what I have designed with your name carved into it. Everything I have destined for you fits with precision like the final piece of a puzzle. And what I am saving for you cannot be tampered with, stolen, or given to someone else. That is why I could not allow anything lesser to attach itself to your life. You've grown used to evaluating progress by what you can see, but I have been working in dimensions you cannot calculate. While you focused on what didn't land, I was working to ensure that what will come can flourish, because what is divine cannot share space with what is temporary. I have cleared the clutter, not because I am delaying your blessing, but because I am making room for something that has eternal value. You keep looking at the absence, but I want you to see the preparation. I have been designing an environment for favor to move freely, for grace to operate without interference. I removed those plans because they didn't align with your long-term call. I silenced those voices because they were slowly shaping your identity in the wrong direction. And yes, I even shut down some good things, because even good can become the enemy of best when it is not in alignment with me. Right now, there are blessings headed toward you that need open ground, and I refuse to let them arrive only to be buried under distractions I never sent. I have seen what is forming. I know the weight of it, and you cannot receive it fully if your hands are still holding on to what was never meant to last. This is more than just strategy. This is spiritual architecture. I have been building something that requires an unshakable foundation, and that is why I removed anything too fragile to carry the next level. It's not that I don't want you to have beautiful things, it's that I want those things to last. I want you to step into provision that doesn't collapse, into relationships that don't unravel. I want you to live from fullness, not constant repair. And if that means I have to cancel some meetings, reroute some invitations, or shut down entire timelines, I will do it without hesitation. Because you matter more than your temporary comfort. You may feel like you've been left behind. The truth is, I have been getting ahead of your arrival to make sure everything is in position. And when the moment arrives, and it is coming, you will not have to force anything. It will click. It will flow. It will confirm every pause I ever orchestrated. And you will understand that my no was never rejection. It was a sacred clearing. You are not empty. You are ready. And what I have been reserving for you will arrive full, complete, and perfectly timed. So do not grieve what didn't stay. Celebrate the space that has been made, because what fills it next will carry my breath, my fingerprint, and the power to multiply. The silence you have been wrestling with. It isn't absence, it is instruction. While you strained your ears, hoping to hear a clear voice or a loud confirmation, I have been carefully crafting answers through the very moments you tried to forget. You mistook my quietness for distance, but I never stepped away. In fact, I came closer. I stepped into the in-between spaces, the pauses between your questions, the seconds between your sighs, the nights when you stared at the ceiling, wondering if I still remembered what you prayed for. Yes, I heard every word. I just chose to respond differently than you expected. Instead of thunder, I gave you a whisper disguised as a shut opportunity. Instead of a fast yes, I gave you a sacred redirection, cloaked in what looked like delay. My communication never stopped. It simply shifted into a language of protection. You saw denial. I saw danger. You saw silence. I saw soil where I buried your future just long enough to let it root in something unshakable. I have been talking to you through the things you wanted to rush past. That relationship that suddenly faded. I spoke there. That job interview that seemed promising but vanished. I was loud in that silence. That open door that looked like a miracle but closed before you could walk through it. That was me. Not withholding love, but giving you a stronger one by redirecting you away from something that would not have honored your calling. I was never ignoring you. I was interpreting your cries from a higher altitude, one that sees the full terrain of your destiny. My silence was not the absence of care, it was the overflow of mercy. You asked for clarity, and I gave you alignment. You wanted movement, but I gave you maturing. You wanted fast, but I gave you firm. Because what I am building in you needs depth, not just results. And depth is born in quiet rooms, not on crowded stages. You've been chasing noise as a sign of my presence, but I dwell in the stillness. I have wrapped myself in the very moments you've been trying to escape. That decision you had to make with trembling hands. I was guiding your thoughts. That day you cried for a sign and nothing seemed to happen. Oh, so much was happening. You just didn't have the full view. But I need you to know this now. Just because you couldn't trace me doesn't mean I wasn't there. I was in the pause. I was in the cancellation. I was in the no. I was in the waiting. My fingerprints are all over the moments you assumed were wasted. Child, I have never stopped speaking. I just need you to learn my language. I want you to recognize my voice, not just when it blesses, but when it protects, when it reroutes, when it quietly shields you from unseen collisions. So stop interpreting my silence as punishment. Instead, view it as sacred space where I am doing my deepest work. And soon, very soon, those quiet answers will become loud breakthroughs. There is a reason your eyes are wide open, even though your body is worn down. Because what is on the horizon is too sacred, too weighty, too perfectly timed to let you slip into slumber unaware. I didn't nudge you awake to stir anxiety. I interrupted your rest because the hour of unveiling has drawn so near that even heaven is holding its breath in anticipation. You have felt the tension for weeks, a quiet buzzing in your spirit like something just beneath the surface, waiting to burst through. That isn't your imagination. That is divine momentum building. What I have been forming behind the curtain is now brushing against the veil, pressing through layers of preparation, ready to manifest in ways that will leave no corner of your life untouched. You think you are still in a waiting season, but in reality, you are standing in the first seconds of fulfillment. And I cannot let you miss this moment by treating it like any other night. The atmosphere around you has shifted. The silence has texture now. The delay has a heartbeat. What I set in motion long ago is arriving at the intersection of your obedience and my faithfulness. And if you could see how close it is, your knees would buckle in reverence. That is why your spirit is restless. That is why the air feels different, because what is approaching isn't just an answer to a prayer. It is a complete realignment of how you live, think, speak, and move. This is not merely about breakthrough. This is about birth. A vision is crowning. A promise is stretching toward the light. And your soul can feel the contractions, even if your mind hasn't understood what's happening. I have not been silent. I have been building. I have not been withholding. I have been anchoring every detail into perfect position so that when I release what's next, it doesn't just bless you. It transforms everything connected to you. There are people who will be delivered simply because you remained faithful in the dark. There are doors that will fly open, not because you knocked louder, but because you were still standing when others walked away. There are provisions that are already en route, not coming, but already moving toward you. And I need you alert, because when they arrive, they will require rapid obedience, not hesitation. You will not have time to overthink. You will not have space to double back and seek approval from voices who never understood your calling. This next release is swift, and it is holy, and it will not wait for fear to catch up. That's why I am whispering to you now, in the quiet of this midnight hour. I am unfolding divine intersections, moments where favor meets timing, where grace collides with opportunity. You will know them by how deeply they resonate, by how quickly they confirm what I've been speaking in the secret place. No striving will be needed, just obedience, just trust, just movement. I am not preparing you for a single blessing. I am preparing you for a sequence of them, one after another, linked like dominoes, waiting for the first touch. And when that first piece falls, the others will follow without interruption. You felt forgotten, but you were being aligned. You felt unseen, but you were being covered. You felt left out, but I was setting the stage for an entrance that will not require applause to be validated. This is the moment before manifestation. This is the breath before the trumpet sounds. And I am waking you up, not just to witness it, but to step into it with clarity. There is something wider than comfort that I am trying to awaken within you tonight. Something too urgent, too holy to delay any longer. And that is your divine assignment, not a task handed to you by culture or pressure or obligation, but a sacred mandate that was placed in your spirit before time ever counted its first second. I did not choose you to simply exist. I did not breathe life into you so you could merely survive one routine after another. I designed you with a blueprint embedded in your being, a unique, irreversible imprint that holds eternal significance. And tonight, as the world winds down, I am leaning in, pressing gently but persistently, because I cannot allow another day to pass without making sure you truly comprehend what you carry. This is not about performance. This is about purpose. This is me, calling forth what has been sitting too quietly inside you, waiting for permission to emerge fully. The unease you have felt, that is the friction between who you have become and who I created you to be. You have made yourself small to fit environments that were never meant to contain the greatness I placed within you. You have silenced your voice to keep peace in places that were never meant to hold your presence. And I have watched, with patience and an aching love, as you settled for what was safe, while the fire I lit in your bones flickered under the weight of fear, doubt, and delay. But I cannot watch you dim any longer. I will not. That is why I keep interrupting your routine, disturbing your sleep, disrupting your comfort, because the world is groaning for the release of what I have placed inside of you, and I am calling it forth, now, not later, not someday, now. You think you are waiting on the right timing, but what I need is your yes. I need you to stop asking if you are ready and start trusting that I am. I would not have assigned this to you if I had not already equipped you. And I would not be stirring your soul this deeply if heaven was not preparing to unleash something through you that changes everything. You have been underestimating the weight of your voice, the reach of your influence, the force of your obedience. But I have not. I see the impact your yes will have. Type yes if you are ready for the blessings that you are about to receive. And if you believe in Christianity, kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. How it will break chains off people you have not even met yet. How it will shift atmospheres in places you didn't plan to enter. Your assignment is not limited by your location or your resources or your resume. It is defined by my anointing. And that anointing is already active. Tonight I came to remind you, you were born for this. Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Not because you feel qualified, but because I am enough. That tug you've been ignoring, that's me. That dream that won't leave you alone, that's me. I haven't changed my mind about you. I haven't reduced the assignment. What I spoke still stands, and I am not letting you rest until you walk in it. This is a holy restlessness. This is a divine summons. This is me, refusing to let you live beneath your calling, and lean in. Let this settle deep into your spirit. Their exit, it was orchestrated mercy, not random abandonment. I watched their footprints fade from your story long before you ever noticed the distance, because I knew precisely where the path ahead would narrow, where the incline would steepen, where your vision would require conviction that casual companions could never sustain. You called it betrayal. I called it pruning. You feared it was rejection. I knew it was refinement. Understand this, child. Destiny has weight, and not every relationship is built to shoulder the mass of what I am about to release through you. There are seasons when I allow fellowship to flourish. And then there are seasons, like this midnight hour, when I step in gently but firmly to remove the attachments that would fracture under pressure or dilute the sound of my instructions. Those conversations that fizzled out, the invitations that stopped, the sudden disconnects that left you staring at your phone. Each one was a strategic extraction, clearing the atmosphere so you can hear me without an echo. So you can move without dragging reluctance behind you like an anchor. Do not glamorize their memories. Do not demonize them. Bless what was, release what cannot remain, and focus on the horizon where I am already waiting. Ahead lies territory that requires undistracted obedience, decisions made in minutes, pivots executed on a whisper, and a faith that refuses to negotiate with nostalgia. I created you for forward momentum. And forward, sometimes, means walking alone for a stretch. But alone with me is never isolation. It is consecration. In that sacred solitude, I am amplifying your discernment, tuning your spirit to frequencies that crowds drown out. Here, you will discover reservoirs of resilience you never knew you had. Grieve if you must. Tears are allowed. but do not linger in what is gone. I removed companions not to leave you empty, but to create space for the alliances that match the altitude of this next season. New voices, mature, anchored, kingdom-minded, are already approaching. You will recognize them by the way their presence accelerates peace instead of drama, by how their counsel confirms what I whispered to you first. Until then, embrace the clarity that this absence has birthed. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it deepen your dependence on me. Now, breathe, just breathe, and receive this. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. The war is confirmation. The no was protection. The silence was my voice. And this night, this restlessness, this is your activation. Sleep now, beloved. You have heard the word. You have received the blueprint. The turning point is here. Rest. Because when you wake, we begin. Your assignment cannot be watered down, and heaven refuses to permit sabotage through sentimental ties. Remember Abraham and Lot? The vision had to split when the company grew too heavy. I am sparing you that conflict by guiding these departures early. Trust my cuts. They may hurt for a moment, but they never ever hurt your future. Lift your eyes from the empty seats and see the chariots of purpose gathering. There is movement to steward, strategies to receive, and battles to win. Step forward with your stride unbroken, knowing I held the door for them to leave, so I could open a gate for you to enter. Keep walking. The next revelation waits just beyond the bend. And it will make every goodbye echo with gratitude rather than loss. Don't mistake the quietness around you as ordinary. It's not stillness. It's sanctification. It's being made holy. The reason you feel such intensity in your chest, why your thoughts are circling, why it feels like the atmosphere itself is alive, is because this exact hour was set apart long before you ever knew what breakthrough meant. This is not a common evening. This is the moment where the deepest parts of your being begin to come into full agreement with heaven's intention for your life. There's a shift happening right now. Not an emotional high, not a passing thought, but a complete internal rearranging that realigns your desires with your destiny. You've been asking me for change, but what's happening tonight is more than that. It's transformation, a turning point, a moment where your old way of seeing, thinking, reacting, and coping is being uprooted. And something stronger, purer, and clearer is being planted in its place. You are not going back to who you were yesterday. I am breathing into the new creation that is rising from the ashes of everything you've had to release. That's why this feels so unfamiliar. That's why emotions are rising without a full explanation. Because the shift you're undergoing cannot be measured by surface-level indicators. This is deep. This is a deep reconstruction. I'm rewiring belief systems that no longer serve the calling I've placed on you. I'm dissolving the lies that have lived in the background of your thoughts for too long. I'm healing wounds you stopped acknowledging because you thought ignoring them was strength. I'm peeling away patterns that looked like personality but were actually just self-preservation. You functioned with limitations for so long that you forgot how bound you were. But now I'm showing you what freedom tastes like. And once you've experienced it, you won't return to the old scripts that kept you quiet, small, and hesitant. You'll no longer make excuses for joy. You'll no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You will no longer silence your convictions to avoid conflict, because I am raising you up in boldness, in purity, in clarity. And it begins right here, right now, in the middle of the night, when no one else sees what's breaking open within you. This is why you couldn't sleep. Because I couldn't allow you to miss the moment this shift began. It's spiritual surgery. It's gentle, but it is permanent. You won't wake up tomorrow the same. There will be an unfamiliar lightness in your chest, a new rhythm in your steps, a fresh boldness in your tone. That's not a coincidence. It's the fruit of your surrender. You've yielded tonight, whether you realized it or not. In your questions, in your tears, in your silent nods to my presence, you handed me permission to do what only I can do. And I have not taken that lightly. I have honored your willingness with a deposit from heaven. Something has been planted that will bear fruit in every area of your life. Relationships will look different. Decisions will come easier. Clarity will increase. Not because the circumstances changed, but because you did. This isn't the kind of shift that fades in a few days. This is permanent. Mark it, journal it, speak it aloud, because the you who is emerging is more aligned, more awake, and more empowered than ever before. And you didn't have to chase it. It came to find you in the silence, because I destined this encounter before you took your first breath. Hold still. Let the shift finish its work. You're crossing a threshold few are willing to reach. This is sacred ground. Breathe deep, beloved, because the next instruction will build on what just changed in you. And it will carry the fire of the new version I just birthed in your spirit. The names they tried to attach to you were never authorized by heaven. The labels spoken in anger, in ignorance, or from their own brokenness might have echoed in your mind. But they hold no authority over what I handcrafted within you before you even had breath in your lungs. Tonight, I'm stripping off every false identity you've carried. Those quiet lies you began to believe over time. The ones that said you were too much or not enough. The ones that mocked your pace, your voice, your emotions, your decisions. You were never meant to wear the weight of their opinions like a second skin. I didn't design you to live under their evaluations. I made you in my image, not their expectation. And the version of you that I see has always been rooted in grace, shaped in truth, and set apart by a purpose that no human hand could define or deny. You've been carrying the residue of words they never should have spoken. Maybe it was something said in passing, or something shouted during your most vulnerable moment. Either way, it tried to stick, and slowly, over the years, it built an invisible ceiling above your confidence. But I'm tearing that down tonight. I'm reclaiming the blueprint. I'm restoring what the mislabeling tried to distort. You are not who they think you are. You are not the sum of their assumptions. You are not bound to their version of your story. I see every part of you, every layer, every scar, every dream. And I say you are chosen, not tolerated, not barely acceptable. You are called by name, known deeply, and loved without condition. You are not defined by your mistakes, your past, your silence, or even your successes. You are defined by the one who wrote eternity into your bones. This identity I speak over you doesn't fluctuate with your mood, your status, or applause. It isn't weakened by your doubts or strengthened by their approval. It simply is, unshakable, eternal, holy. And when I see you, I don't see shame, I see redemption. I don't see failure, I see a foundation. I don't see weakness. I see the vessel I chose to carry power in unexpected places. You've been trying to prove yourself to people who never saw you accurately in the first place. And the reason it's been so exhausting is because you were never meant to be measured by their standard. I want you to stop shrinking to fit into spaces I've called you to expand. Stop editing yourself to earn an acceptance I already gave you freely. Stop holding your tongue when your voice carries healing for others. You are not created to blend in. You were formed to stand out in a way that reflects my glory, not your effort. The opinions that wounded you do not overrule the truth I've spoken over you since before the womb. And my truth is this: you are a royal priesthood, a living temple, a light that cannot be hidden. No matter what they called you, failure, mistake, outsider, too sensitive, too ambitious, not qualified, none of it matters, because I call you mine, I call you equipped, I call you whole, I call you redeemed. So let me rewrite the script running through your mind. Let me silence the noise of every name they used that wasn't born from love. You're stepping into a season where your identity will no longer be borrowed or bruised. It will be embodied, fully, wholly, and joyfully. And when people ask what changed, you won't have to explain. They'll see the freedom in your posture, the fire in your speech, the peace in your eyes. You'll wear my words like armor, and nothing will penetrate it again. So stand up in who you are. Speak from who you are. Move with the confidence of someone who knows exactly whose image they were made in. Because your next assignment will require you to walk boldly in the identity I'm reminding you of right now. And it begins the moment you stop answering to names I never gave you. That fog you've been walking through, that disorientation, the second guessing, the internal tug of war, is not evidence that you've lost your direction. It's proof that you've outgrown the mindset that once held you. What you're feeling is not collapse, it's an awakening, a sacred divine shifting of old frameworks that can no longer support the weight of where I'm taking you. You've been asking, why can't I see clearly anymore? And why does everything I once felt sure about now feel so uncertain? And I'm answering you now, in this very moment. I've begun the process of rebuilding your understanding from the ground up. Not because you were wrong, but because I want to show you deeper layers of my voice, my guidance, my movement. I'm not dismantling your life. I'm stretching your vision beyond the borders of what familiarity taught you. That tension in your chest, that unsettled stirring in your spirit, that hesitation before every step, it's me, lifting the veil and inviting you into a greater dependence, a newer awareness, a fuller encounter. You keep reaching for past rhythms, hoping they'll bring the clarity you used to feel. But they don't fit anymore, do they? That's intentional, because I'm not calling you back to what was. I'm ushering you forward into what is becoming. You're not lost, you're transitioning. You're moving from a season of repetition into a season of revelation. And revelation often begins with disruption. Not loud, destructive chaos, but a divine unraveling of the comfort zones that no longer carry truth. I'm shaking loose the patterns that made you feel safe, but quietly stifled your growth. That's why your prayers feel different. That's why your worship feels deeper, even when words don't come. Because I'm birthing something new, and the delivery requires disorientation before order is restored. You've mistaken unfamiliarity for failure. But the truth is, you're evolving. The confusion isn't a sign you've done something wrong. It's a sign I'm moving you from reliance on logic to reliance on my presence. You won't be able to plan this next phase with bullet points and timelines. This isn't about strategy. It's about surrender. I'm teaching you to listen differently, to trust in the quiet, to move even when visibility is low. Because clarity won't always come first. obedience will. And as you respond, the fog will begin to lift. Not because everything becomes easy, but because your spirit will start to see in ways your mind never could. Don't be afraid of not knowing. Don't panic because you don't have all the pieces yet. I'm not asking you to have it all figured out. I'm asking you to stay close, stay open. I will give you just enough light for the next step. And in that you will find a peace that no plan could ever produce. The confusion is not chaos, it's a clearing out. I'm removing the excess voices, the outdated routines, the internal noise that once drowned me out. I'm making room for new revelation, room for new assignments, room for a version of you that walks not by sight, but by sensitivity to my presence. You are not crumbling, you are being recalibrated. What feels like a setback is actually a sacred alignment. And when the dust settles, when the last layer of false certainty finally peels away, you'll see that the confusion was a cocoon. You'll realize that the disorientation was actually me lifting you above the old horizon so you could see a wider view. And when you finally catch that glimpse, when you see what's coming into focus, you'll thank me for every uncertain moment. Because it made you lean in, it made you listen, it made you seek. And in seeking, you'll find that I was never silent. I was simply inviting you to hear me in a new way. So rest your mind, child. This is not the end of clarity. It's the beginning of true discernment. And what comes next will not require understanding, only willingness. Prepare to step into the wisdom that only emerges through surrender. You've been carrying the ache of loss like a secret weight, tucked deep in the folds of your heart, where even you hesitate to look too long. The ending caught you off guard, whether it was a relationship, a position, a dream, or a hope that seemed so close to becoming real. One day it was part of your life. The next, it was gone. And ever since, you've quietly wondered if you did something wrong. If I was displeased, if you somehow missed the moment that could have saved it. But tonight, I want to speak into that silent sorrow and bring truth to what confusion has distorted. It wasn't punishment. It was precision. I removed it, not to hurt you, but to protect what I've been shaping in secret. What left your life did not leave without my knowing. I wasn't distant in the moment of loss. I was intimately involved, carefully guiding the release of something that no longer fit the architecture of where I'm taking you. You saw it as subtraction. I saw it as alignment. What felt like being stripped bare was actually me, clearing the stage for the next act, one that cannot coexist with what you were holding on to. Because you see, child, there are blessings that become burdens when kept past their season. There are people who were meant to be bridges, not destinations. There are roles you outgrew, assignments that were temporary, and attachments that seemed essential until they began suffocating your growth. I allowed the separation, the silence, the shift, because I saw what you couldn't. The cost of keeping something that could no longer carry the weight of your next level. I know you miss it. I know it hurt, and I'm not asking you to deny that grief. I'm asking you to trust that I am still good in the middle of it. You have not been cursed. You've been cleared. What you see as empty hands are actually open ones, ready to receive what's tailor-made for your future. And though you may not yet see what's coming, I can assure you of this: the void won't remain void for long. I'm too intentional for that. I don't remove without preparing to replace. And I don't replace with equal. I replace with increase. What's ahead will not compete with what was, it will exceed it. Not because what you had was bad, but because what I'm bringing is better. Heaven authored, pressure tested, lasting. You'll look back soon and realize that the pain you feared would break you actually positioned you to be rebuilt stronger, wiser, and freer. Let me redeem the loss. Let me reshape your perspective. Stop asking, why did it end? And start asking, what am I making room for? That shift alone will begin to lift the heaviness. Because I'm not just healing you. I'm preparing you. I'm removing weight you didn't even realize was slowing you down. I'm sharpening your focus so you don't miss what's next. I'm stretching your heart so it can hold more, love deeper, and serve wider. This is the divine reset. And like a garden that must be pruned before it can bloom again, I've cut away what could have hindered the harvest I'm preparing to release. You haven't failed, you've been refined. So breathe deep, the story isn't over. It's being rewritten with more beauty than you asked for. And while you wait, know this, I'm not just near, I'm working, strategically, silently, faithfully. Every hour of this night is setting up the morning that will make you glad I didn't answer your cries to keep what I had to remove. Trust me with the lost, child, because what's coming will not only fill the space, it will heal it. And it will do so in a way that leaves no doubt I was always making room for something greater. There have been moments when you questioned whether I was really present, times when events did not line up with your prayers, when delays felt cruel, and when outcomes left you disappointed, confused, even wounded. But what I'm revealing to you now, in the stillness of this very night, is the depth of my involvement in the things you thought I ignored. While you focused on what didn't go your way, I was surrounding you with layers of unseen defense, pulling you out of situations that looked harmless on the surface, but carried long-term damage hidden beneath. Every time your plans unraveled, every time a conversation ended abruptly, every time you faced rejection without understanding why, that wasn't neglect. That was shelter. I was shielding you from what would have compromised your purpose, your peace, and your growth. You only saw a locked door, but I saw the fire raging behind it. You only heard silence from someone you cared about, but I heard the words they would have used to tear you down. I didn't explain it at the time, because sometimes protection must come before revelation. Because if I had shown you all of it, when you were still emotionally attached to the outcome, you might have run toward the danger I was pulling you away from. You thought you were being overlooked, when in fact you were being guarded. And now, with your spirit more alert, with your heart beginning to heal, I'm inviting you to look back, not with regret, but with clarity. Begin to trace the places where you see my fingerprints. How that wrong turn spared you from something worse. How that closed opportunity rerouted you to something more aligned. How that detour introduced you to someone who now plays a key role in your life. Type yes if you are ready for the blessings that you are about to receive. And if you believe in Christianity, kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. There is no randomness in my plan. I do not operate in coincidence. I move with eternal foresight, and everything I've blocked, delayed, or ended was part of a larger covering you didn't even realize you needed. Because I don't just protect your present, I protect your legacy. I'm not just preserving your comfort, I'm preserving your calling. And this protection wasn't just external. I've been guarding your heart too. from voices that would have confused your identity, from relationships that would have fed your insecurities, from advice that sounded wise but was rooted in fear, not truth. I've intercepted attacks meant to erode your confidence slowly, like a leak in a vessel. I've dismantled plans formed against you in the dark. I've silenced gossip, redirected harm, and absorbed storms that never even reached you, because my hand stood between you and the enemy's intention. Not once did I leave you exposed. Even in the moments when you felt most alone, angels stood watch. Even when it felt like everything was falling apart, I was reinforcing your foundation beneath the surface. And now, I want you to live like someone who knows they are protected. I want you to walk in the peace that comes from trusting that I'm not just reactive. I am proactive. I don't just clean up after the battle, I keep many from ever starting. I don't wait until the damage is done. I prevent it before it ever takes form. That's how closely I've been walking with you. That's how thoroughly I care. Not just about your steps, but about the terrain you're walking through. Not just about your dreams, but about your soul. Let this awareness shift your posture. Let it silence the fear that creeps in when outcomes don't make sense. Let it calm the anxiety that rises when people walk away or plans dissolve. You're not being abandoned. You're being protected, covered, shielded by the one who sees what you cannot. So as you lay here tonight, let go of the resentment toward what didn't work. Release the bitterness over what didn't stay. And instead, lift your eyes and say, "Thank you for what never reached me." Because what's coming next doesn't just require vision. It requires confidence in my covering. And now that you see it, you will walk differently. You will stop panicking and start preparing for what I'm about to deliver next. Stop measuring postponements by earthly clocks and calendars. Because heaven keeps time in revelations, not in minutes. And I have been choreographing your steps with a precision only eternity understands. Remember each instance when you felt stuck at a red light while others sped forward? Those pauses frustrated your plans, but they positioned your purpose. I was synchronizing intersections you could not see. Lining up the right voices, maturing hidden talents, softening hearts you will soon influence, and tempering fires that would have burned you if you had arrived 1 hour earlier. Think of it like an intricate constellation. The stars can appear scattered, yet when the sky grows darker, their arrangement reveals a pattern. Your delays have been those stars, waiting for tonight's darkness to display the alignment I secretly stitched together. While you calculated lost momentum, I secured foundations under future platforms so they would not collapse from success that arrived too soon. Consider the jobs that never called back, the applications that vanished into silence, the meetings rescheduled until they faded from the agenda. You assumed incompetence, but I shielded you from entanglements that would have drained your creativity and tethered your spirit to mediocrity. Even traffic jams and missed flights carried an assignment. They were rerouting you away from accidents, not just on highways, but in conversations that would have sown doubt into your vision. Delay has always been my disguise for deliverance. I delayed papers being processed because the policy they relied on was about to expire. I delayed introductions because the person you thought you needed was wrestling with integrity issues that would have poisoned the partnership. Tonight the curtain lifts, and you will start recognizing the connections between the holds and the harvests. You will feel it first as an inner clicking, like gears finally meshing. The project that sat dormant in a folder will suddenly gain funding. The mentor who never responded will reach out. The skill you practiced in obscurity will match a problem no one else can solve. Momentum will gather, not as a storm of chaos, but as a tide that knows exactly how far to rise. And you will realize that what looked like a standstill was me, assembling a stage so vast that a single misalignment could have crippled its reach. I have never rushed excellence. Seeds germinate underground before they pierce the soil. Instruments are tuned in silence before the concert hall fills. Foundations cure in hidden trenches before skyscrapers can ascend. Your waiting room has been a tuning room, a curing room, a germination chamber, and tonight you will sense doors unlatching with a gentleness that hides the magnitude of what waits behind them. Do not mourn the seasons that felt wasted. They were wombs, the conversations practiced alone in your mirror, the drafts you deleted, the prayers you repeated with tears. Every repetition etched depth into your character. If success had burst in while insecurity still ruled your self-talk, the applause would have warped your identity. But I paced the process, letting your confidence grow roots deep enough to survive the spotlight. Now, when recognition arrives, it will confirm your worth rather than construct it. That is why I allowed the silence to stretch, so your value would be anchored in my voice, not in their validation. Tonight, I invite you to exchange frustration for fascination. Notice how the contacts you met years ago will circle back with opportunities that now fit perfectly. Observe how lessons from unrelated detours provide solutions tailor-made for upcoming challenges. This is the unveiling of divine timing, the slow blooming of a plan too intricate to reveal any sooner. As you breathe this in, anxiety will loosen like knots undone. Gratitude will replace impatience, and anticipation will burn brighter than regret. Step into this unfolding with steady steps. Listen for gentle cues instead of clanging alarms. I will guide each movement, subtle, sure, sequential, because a destiny orchestrated by heaven never trips over haste. So rest your questions about why did it take so long, and lift your eyes to the wonders that are arriving exactly on schedule. The night of explanations has come, and with the dawn, you will walk into the evidence that every delay was a doorway, time to swing open when you were truly ready, and when the world was finally prepared to receive the fullness of what I planted inside you. For far too long, you've imagined yourself standing at a closed gate, fingers tapping the latch, sighing at the stillness beyond it, believing heaven was slow to decide. Yet all this time, I have been holding the entrance wide open, beckoning, wondering when you would lift your eyes from the dust beneath your feet and notice the threshold already illuminated by my promise. The delay you feel now is not a celestial backlog. It is the lingering haze of hesitation clouding your own resolve. I have finalized every provision, greenlit every resource, prepared every heart you must meet, and scripted every conversation down to the inflection. Nothing remains on my side of the ledger. The final signature required, Simwed, is your courage. Why do you replay scenarios of defeat, rewriting them with fresh doubts each night? Why do you rehearse speeches that justify smallness when I have dressed you in stature? You call it prudence, but I call it procrastination disguised as prudence. I am not withholding direction. I am waiting for movement, because some revelations only unfold in motion. Like a scroll that unrolls as you walk, the ink of your destiny appears line by line, only after each step finds the ground. And I have already infused this hour with acceleration. Unseen assistance is poised like sprinters in their starting blocks. Ideas are hovering over your mind like rain-heavy clouds, ready to burst the moment you speak them aloud. Favor is circling your name like a satellite, awaiting the activation code of your obedience. Listen, can you sense the buzz in the spiritual atmosphere? That is not confusion. It is the circuitry of destiny, humming at full power, anticipating your yes. The longer you linger, the more restless that hum will grow. Not to torment you, but to remind you that opportunity is best seized in its season. Windows do not remain open indefinitely. They tilt forward, and eventually they swing shut, not as punishment, but as protection for the next cycle. I want you through this one before the hinge clicks. So, trade the questions of what if I misstep for declarations of even my missteps are guided by grace. Exchange the posture of a petitioner waiting for permission for the stride of an heir claiming an inheritance. I have spent nights like these teaching your heart to recognize my whisper, so you will trust it over the roar of opinion. Now, let that training matter. Rise from that bed. Jot down the business outline. Send the message. Submit the application. Schedule the meeting. Start the recording. Book the ticket. Whatever obedience looks like tonight, do it swiftly. For momentum favors the swift. And as you act, notice how nerves transform into energy, how resources reveal themselves like stones across a stream, appearing only when you step toward the water. This is the chemistry of faith. Motion catalyzes the miracle. If you insist on seeing every detail before daring a single stride, you will stand forever on safe ground, ground that was never meant to hold the weight of your assignment. Child, I have invested too much in you for caution to keep dictating the pace. Heaven is not late. The year you prayed for has already dawned. Its light is creeping beneath your door. Fling it open, and then let the dawn flood the room. Then move. Because the moment is no longer approaching. It is here, beating like a drum, waiting for your very next move to match its rhythm. Hear it now, pulsing beneath your ribs like a drum that refuses to be muted. The sound of an assignment that will not be silenced by anxiety's whisperings or shame's accusations. That resonance you keep mistaking for nervousness, it is purpose, speaking in its native tongue, vibrating through every cell, insisting on being heard above the static of what-ifs. Fear has rehearsed its speech for years, reciting worst-case scenarios until they felt like prophecy. But prophecy has a different sound, clearer, stronger, unmovable. And that is what's resounding inside you this very moment. I planted that tone before your first breath, and no amount of intimidation can drown it out. It can only make you press your palms tighter against your ears. Enough of that. Remove your hands. Let the call reverberate. Notice how it swells whenever you contemplate stepping forward. How it crescendos when you imagine speaking the truth that unsettles complacency. How it refuses to soften simply because your pulse quickens. You have been negotiating with fear as though it had veto power, granting it authority over decisions that belong solely to faith. Yet fear has never carried insight, only echoes of previous disappointments dressed up as protective counsel. Tonight I am exposing its bluff. Your calling carries authority. Fear only carries volume. Authority outlasts volume. Noise eventually exhausts itself. But a commission breathed by my spirit never burns out. Think of the prophets who quaked yet spoke. Of the shepherd boy who trembled yet ran toward the giant. of the teenage girl who pondered, yet carried the promise in her womb. Each one heard the same taunting voice of inadequacy. Yet my word proved louder every single time. So it will be with you. Feel the weight of destiny settle on your shoulders, not as a burden, but as a mantle, perfectly tailored to your frame. It does not crush, it empowers. It straightens your spine, steadies your gaze, and clarifies your tongue. Even now, phrases you've struggled to articulate are beginning to arrange themselves on the tip of your tongue. Strategies you could not formulate are starting to snap into alignment, like magnets finding true north. That is not a coincidence. That is your calling, overtaking fear's jurisdiction. And here is the secret fear never tells you. The moment you act, its grip loosens exponentially. It thrives in anticipation, not in execution. One decisive step shrinks it from a storm cloud to a wisp. A second step, and it's gone. Draft the proposal. Accept the invitation. Register for the course. Volunteer for the assignment that is far bigger than your resume. Each act of obedience turns the volume knob of your calling higher until it becomes the dominant soundtrack of your life, drowning out every hiss of inadequacy. Remember, child, courage is not the absence of trembling. It is choosing whose voice directs your motion. I have already amplified your voice in the heavenlies. Creation is tuned to its frequency, waiting for your agreement. Type yes if you are ready for the blessings that you are about to receive. And if you believe in Christianity, kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. The ground ahead is calibrated to respond when you place your foot upon it, like doors programmed to slide open when they sense your presence. Fear cannot override that mechanism. Only hesitation can delay its activation. But you will not hesitate now, because you finally recognize the symphony inside you for what it is. My summons, composed before the foundation of the world. Let it be louder, let it lead. And watch as every step you take in harmony with that sound causes fear to fade, until it becomes nothing more than a distant murmur. Powerless to dictate the pace of a life conducted by destiny's unmistakable roar. Prepare yourself, because in the coming moments, I will ignite floods of revelation that sweep through your memory like bright searchlights, illuminating every shadow where deception has lived undisturbed. Half-truths that masqueraded as caution, labels that sounded logical, verdicts whispered in vulnerable moments. None of them will survive the blaze I am unleashing now. You will feel it start as a sudden clarity, a jolt in your chest, as though something clicks back into alignment. That is the first fracture in the facade. I will pull back curtain after curtain, and sentences you once recited as facts. I'll never recover. I always ruin good things. I'm too broken to lead. I missed my only chance. No one will love me. They will all dissolve before your eyes, like ink plunged into water. Watch closely. I will reveal the origin of each lie. I will show you the moment it embedded itself. I will trace its thread through your decisions, your alliances, your detours, and your sleepless nights. Not to shame you, but to sever its influence permanently. For years, these false narratives have dictated your posture. Shoulders slightly hunched, dreams adjusted downward, prayers edited for safety. Tonight, I place my hand beneath your chin and tilt your gaze higher. For I am writing new, interior scripts with uncompromising truth. When I say expose, I do not mean a polite rebuttal. I mean a full-scale disclosure. A courtroom where fabrication is forced to testify against itself. Every accusation that called you unqualified, every harsh inner commentary that replayed after a conversation ended, every silent assumption that predicted disaster anytime joy blossomed. Each one will stand trial in the brilliance of my word, and you will watch them crumble under the evidence of grace, redemption, and irrevocable purpose. The enemy relied on stealth, feeding you distortion in whispers so faint they felt like your own thoughts. But once light invades, stealth collapses. I will distinguish my voice from the counterfeits until you recognize the sound instantly. The way a child recognizes a parent's call amid the chaos of a playground. When doubt attempts future assaults, you will detect it before it even finishes its sentence, because the discernment sharpened tonight will pierce its disguise. Can you feel the chains slipping already? The subtle dread around new opportunities, the reflex to apologize for existing, the tendency to dim your own brilliance to keep the peace. They cannot survive this unveiling. And as falsehood exits, the vacant space will not remain empty. I will fill it with truths that echo like an anthem in your subconscious. You will walk into rooms aware of your heaven-backed authority. You will rest without rehearsing imaginary catastrophes. You will invest in people and projects without the undertow of unworthiness. This is not motivation. This is spiritual surgery, extracting the poison so that healing can accelerate. Do not fear the momentary sting of recognition when a lie surfaces. Regret may try to rush in, but I will guard you. Regret is just another disguise. It will not gain a foothold. Instead, gratitude will rise, stronger than any embarrassment, as you realize how fiercely I have intervened for you tonight. And once the exposure is complete, momentum will surge. Ideas previously stalled will advance, relationships will restore, creativity will spark, because lies function like debris clogging the rivers of favor. The clearing of that debris unlocks the flow. Lean into this torrent. Let it wash over every arena of your identity, your vocation, your relationships. You will notice your language shifting. No longer self-deprecating but confident. No longer fatalistic but expectant. That shift is the evidence that the lies have lost their legal right. Record this night in your journal. Mark it beside your other turning points. For generations will trace their freedom back to this very hour, when deception's reign in your life finally ended. I am not merely revealing truth. I am commissioning a truth bearer. From this point forward, your testimony will dismantle similar strongholds in others, because the light that just freed you now shines through you. Feel the surge of quiet power in your spine. That is liberty taking root. Breathe deeply, beloved. I am not finished unveiling, but the first fortress has fallen, and the dawn will prove how different the landscape looks, with the walls of falsehood reduced to rubble beneath your feet. You may not see me with your eyes, and the room may still be filled with the weight of silence. But if you could feel what I feel in this moment, you'd realize you are surrounded by more than just walls and a ceiling. You are enclosed in my presence. I am not distant. I am not merely observing from above. I am here, closer than your breath, closer than your thoughts. Sitting beside you with a tenderness so deep it holds every one of your aches without you needing to say a word. You haven't needed to earn this nearness. You haven't needed to prove you deserve for me to stay. I'm not here out of obligation. I'm here out of love. A love that does not waver when you're tired. A love that doesn't retreat when you question. A love that is strong enough to sit in the dark with you without demanding a quick fix or a tidy resolution. I see the battle happening within you. I know about the thoughts you haven't shared, the way your heart tightens when you try to believe everything will work out, the way hope sometimes feels like a stranger knocking on a locked door. You whispered, God, do you really see me? And tonight I answer, not just with words, but with presence. I am not merely aware of your struggle. I am actively attending to it. I am holding space for you to breathe, to weep, to wonder, and to find rest in knowing that you don't have to carry this alone anymore. There is no pressure in my gaze, no rush in my voice, no disappointment in my silence. Only compassion, only patience, only a peace deep enough to anchor you even in the waves of uncertainty. You are not abandoned to figure everything out. You are not sitting in the waiting room alone. I am here, wrapping my arms around the very places that feel most vulnerable. I don't need you to perform or explain. I just need you to receive. Can you feel it? That softening within you, that slight lift in your chest, that warmth that doesn't come from blankets or lights. That's me. I am wrapping you in the assurance that nothing about you goes unnoticed. Every sigh, every restless turn of your body, every time you close your eyes, hoping to drift away from the pain, I've been beside you for all of it. Not judging, not pacing, not fixing things with cold distance, but sitting in it with you, fully present, fully aware. Even now, I'm whispering peace over your nervous system. I'm soothing the edges of your mind that have been rubbed raw by overthinking. I'm speaking truth to the lies that have tried to whisper, you're too much or you're not enough. And I'm restoring your awareness of me, not as a concept, but as your constant, your comfort, your friend, the one who has never once stepped away. The world may move fast. People may disappear. Expectations may rise and fall, but I remain. I remain steadfast when circumstances shake. I remain present when you forget I'm near. I remain faithful even when doubt clouds your vision. So let your guard down tonight. Let the tears fall if they need to. Let the questions come without fear of punishment. I can handle them all. I already know what's inside you, and still I stay. I will stay for as long as it takes, for as many nights as you need. You are not a burden to my presence. You are not delaying my purpose by needing comfort. In fact, it's in these intimate moments when you finally stop pretending to be okay that the deepest healing begins. Let me be the one who holds you while everything feels uncertain. Let me be the calm that steadies your breath. Because I am not leaving. I will not vanish at sunrise. I will walk with you into tomorrow just as surely as I sit beside you now. And together we will rise into what comes next. You remember the nights when the weight felt unbearable, when hope seemed out of reach, when every direction looked closed off, when even your prayers felt hollow, echoing into the air. The chaos around you screamed louder than your faith, and everything inside you questioned if you'd survive what was crashing down. But here you are, breathing, still standing, still moving, even if it's slower than before. And do you know why? It's not because you were lucky. Not because you found a way to push harder than everyone else. It's because I was there. In every gust of confusion, I stood unmoved. In every thunderclap of fear, I covered you with my own peace. While the storm tried to rip away your joy, I became your anchor. You didn't see me because the rain blurred your vision, but my arms never loosened. You didn't hear me because the wind howled too loud, but my voice was the calm pressed into your chest, urging you to take one more breath, one more step, one more day. That storm wasn't meant to be your end. It was meant to reveal that your strength was never yours alone. What tried to drown you ended up baptizing you into a deeper trust. What came to destroy your foundation only proved that it was built on something eternal. You may not have felt strong in the moment. You may have cried, questioned, even pleaded for it to stop. But strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as simple as staying, as simple as choosing not to quit when everything in you aches. And every time you thought you were alone, I was carrying you. I stood between you and the full force of the enemy's assault. I blocked what you never even saw coming. The weight you felt was heavy, yes, but if you only knew what I shielded you from, you would weep with gratitude. What reached you was only a fraction. What didn't reach you was everything. I never promised storms wouldn't come. I never said life would move in smooth lines and easy answers. But I promised my presence. I promised that when the winds rise and the earth shakes, I won't just watch. I'll hold you steady through it. And I did. And I still am. Even now, the aftermath may feel raw. You're sorting through the broken pieces, wondering what can be salvaged. But listen closely. Not everything that fell was meant to be rebuilt. Some things were never supposed to survive the storm. Some ties, some habits, some identities, they only held you back. I allowed the winds to strip them away, not to harm you, but to lighten you for where I am taking you next. Let them go. Don't try to resurrect what I buried in the storm. Instead, lift your eyes. Look at what remains. Look at who you're becoming. You're different now, wiser, deeper, stronger in ways that can't be seen from the outside. You've gained a resilience the storm didn't account for, and that's the very thing I'm going to use. The enemy thought the storm would silence you, but I'm going to make it your testimony. I'm going to give you words that breathe life into others who are still trying to find their way out of their own storm. Your scars will shine, not as symbols of defeat, but as proof that grace held you together when the world expected you to fall apart. That storm changed you, but not in the way the darkness intended. It didn't ruin your future, it refined it. So don't look back in fear. Don't replay the moments of near collapse. Look forward with the quiet confidence of someone who's seen the worst and knows that I stayed. Because I'll never walk away. Not when it's messy. Not when you're weary. Not when your faith trembles. I'm still here. And the next season won't be defined by the storm you came through. It will be defined by the strength you discovered in me. While everything else was shaking, we're moving forward now, and nothing can stop what I'm about to build with what the storm couldn't take. You didn't stumble across this moment by accident. This is not a random hour where time just happened to move slowly. This is an appointed window carved out before you ever took your first breath. And I have waited for you to become still enough, aware enough, and open enough to receive what I've been storing up for this exact point in your journey. So many moments pass by unnoticed, seconds swallowed by routine, hours dissolved in distraction. But not this one. This moment carries weight. This one is drenched in purpose. And I refuse to let you overlook what's happening in your spirit right now. Because something is aligning, something is shifting, something is unlocking that will alter not only your path, but the very atmosphere around you. Heaven has leaned in, angels have taken their positions, the veil is thinner than it's ever been, and revelation is dripping like oil into your soul. What you sense stirring, that quiet pressure rising in your chest, the stillness that feels thick with presence. That is me, drawing you in, whispering things to your heart that no sermon, no book, no person could fully articulate. You are not just being visited, you are being marked. Marked with clarity, with calling, with a mantle that is going to shape the generations that come after you. And that is why I will not let you sleep. Not yet. Not until this settles deep into your core. Not until this moment takes root. Because what I plant in you tonight will bear fruit long beyond what you can measure. Decisions will look different. Your words will carry new weight. Your relationships will take on deeper meaning. Not because you tried harder, but because you encountered me, here, right now. I don't want you to brush this off and call it a feeling. It's more than that. It's a holy interruption. It's me, suspending time for your awareness to catch up to what's already unfolding. For weeks, maybe months, you felt a strange pull, an invisible magnet urging you to pause, to look inward, to make room. And now you know why. I was preparing you for this, preparing you to recognize that what seemed delayed was actually me setting the stage. Preparing you to understand that your readiness was more important than the calendar. I couldn't move certain things until your heart softened, until your thoughts quieted, until your spirit lifted its head and said, I'm listening. And now that you are, watch what I do next. This isn't just a moment of comfort. It's a moment of commissioning. The same way I touched the hearts of prophets in the night, the way I stirred Joseph with dreams, the way I called Samuel from his rest. I'm doing that with you now. The ordinary is being pierced by the extraordinary. The noise is being overtaken by the voice that formed galaxies. And all I need from you is this. Don't walk away unchanged. Let this moment define you. Let it be the hinge your life swings on. Let it be the catalyst for every yes that comes after. I'm pouring strategy into your spirit. I'm highlighting names that need to be reached. I'm revealing insight that will be needed in the days ahead. You think you're just lying in bed waiting for sleep, but heaven sees a throne room encounter. I have knelt beside your weariness and whispered, look up. Not just with your eyes, but with your soul. Because what I release here will awaken parts of you that fear tried to shut down, that pain tried to bury. This is the beginning of divine clarity, the kind that separates you from the crowd. Not because you're better, but because you've heard something deeper. Because you've encountered me in a way that you won't be able to forget. So remember this moment, mark it, speak it, write it, let it fuel the steps that follow. Because this was never meant to be a passing inspiration. This was meant to realign everything. And I made sure you didn't miss it. Because what I've just revealed is the foundation of what's coming next. And child, what's coming will require every ounce of what I just placed inside you. So stand ready, because the next breath you take moves you from awakening into action. You've been interpreting this weight as weakness, assuming that something is wrong because you can't seem to shake the pressure resting on your chest. It follows you when you wake and lingers as the world quiets down. It's not always sadness, not always fear. It's deeper than that. It's not trying to crush you. It's trying to wake you. That heaviness is not an attack. It's a mantle. It's the sound of destiny knocking from the inside out. What you're feeling is me pressing, not to burden, but to awaken something dormant within you that the ordinary pace of life has numbed. This isn't depression, it's divine discomfort. It's me, drawing your attention inward, not to condemn, but to call. You've prayed for purpose. You've asked me to show you the reason you were born. But now that I've begun to stir that purpose inside you, it feels foreign, unfamiliar, like your soul is expanding beyond what your current frame can contain. That's because it is. I'm stretching your capacity, I'm growing your insight, I'm increasing your awareness. And like all growth, it comes with pressure. This is the season where you no longer settle for just surviving. This is the hour when you move from passivity into passion. That heaviness, it's a holy restlessness, a signal that you're not called to stay where you've been. It's me pushing on the walls of your comfort zone, not to harm you, but to free you. You've been living within boundaries that no longer serve who you are becoming. And now I'm pressing through every layer of complacency to bring your spirit into alignment with my voice. You're not being crushed, you're being carved, shaped, refined. I'm not pushing you down, I'm pushing you through. Through excuses, through delay, through fear, through the patterns that once protected you but now only limit you. And I know it feels uncomfortable. I know you've asked me, why does this feel so heavy if it's from you? But child, not all burdens are destructive. Some are divine. What I've placed in you has weight because it matters. Glory carries gravity. And you've been entrusted with something eternal, something that cannot be carried lightly. That heaviness isn't a flaw in your faith. It's evidence that you're carrying something from heaven, and your heart knows it can't stay silent anymore. Let it shift you. Let it move you into the spaces you've been avoiding. Let it pull you toward the voice you've been trying to drown out. I'm not trying to overwhelm you. I'm trying to overflow through you. That pressure is an invitation to lean in, to listen, to ask deeper questions, to release what's grown too small for you. Stop resisting the weight. Instead, ask what it's pointing to. Where is it leading you? What have I been whispering that you've ignored because it felt too big, too costly, too unfamiliar? The heaviness won't lift until you acknowledge the message beneath it. This is how purpose introduces itself. Not with applause, but with a holy ache that won't let you go back to who you used to be. I'm not punishing you, I'm positioning you. You've outgrown the shell of yesterday's comfort, and now I'm drawing you into a depth that surface living can't access. The pressure you feel is me, gathering your focus. I've seen what you're capable of. I've seen what I placed in you before time began. And now is the moment to pull it forth. Don't numb the weight. Don't dismiss it. Let it drive you to your knees. Not in despair, but in surrender. Because as soon as you stop fighting it and start flowing with it, the heaviness will turn into momentum. The burden will become your breakthrough, and you will realize it was never meant to defeat you. It was designed to ignite what's been hidden inside of you all along. Get ready. What comes next will flow from this very pressing. Amen.